All right, everybody. So, you guys know how the UK is cringe and bad, and we don't like it, and we joke about how bad it is all the time? Well, this time, we're not joking. This is actually the UK being unimaginably cringe. You see, the UK is currently planning to ban sex education for children under 9. Now, I'm going to preface this because I feel this is very important context to know going into this story. Sex education is one of those awkward topics where it's like, no one wants to be the person that has to explain that kind of stuff to young people, to kids, certainly. It's an awkward situation all around. I know that, like, when I was younger, it was awkward to have to sit there and have this, like, adult tell us all this stuff we already knew from the internet, frankly, at that point. And then, like, just the awkwardness, getting the talk. I never just got the talk, thankfully, but I imagine that would be really weird and awkward, too. Sex education can be pretty awkward and weird, right? Like, let's be honest, it can be, right? And there is an automatic, reflexive reaction to... Come on, just bear with me here, chat. There's an automatic, reflexive reaction that many people have to saying something along the lines of, there is a age limit of appropriateness to when a child should be made aware of certain ideas around sex, no matter how clinical it's presented. Because there's a way to talk about biology and sexual reproduction and safety that's not raunchy or inappropriate. It can be clinical and straightforward and scientific and meticulous and educational, and it can be, like, enriching. And I think that's something that a lot of people kind of forget. And another thing to remember, probably the most important thing that we need to remember, is that the introduction of sexual education at a young age, the younger the better, surprisingly, drastically decreases the chances of A, a child being taken advantage of by a sexual predator, and B, the chances of a child being taken advantage of by a sexual predator, and then that sexual predator getting away with it because the child doesn't know to get help. You see, many children don't know what consent is, they don't know what boundaries are, or that they should have them, or that if an adult tells them to do something, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to do it all the time. And there's a certain important level of understanding that even young kids need to have, because they're the targets of some of the most deranged and foul people that want to take advantage of them. And they need to know a basic education to protect themselves, or God forbid, if something happens to them, to seek justice. And it has been shown statistically, with data, overwhelmingly, a consensus has been established that introduction of sex education at a younger age drastically reduces the chances of especially prolonged sexual abuse on children. And so while I understand the immediate sort of reflexive reaction to want to protect the innocence of children from hearing about even a clinical, clean, educational understanding of sex education so that their, innocence can be preserved or whatever, I think what's more important in regards to preserving their innocence, I think what would preserve their innocence far more would be helping to prevent them from being sexually abused. And a big thing you can do to help them to avoid that is to explain to them at a young age what that is. One thing that I guess you could kind of consider this in a way sex education, sort of. For as long as I have been alive and that I have memories, I have known what a pedophile was. My mom told me as soon as I was capable of internalizing information about dangers like a hot stove, that there are creepers out there that will come after kids and they want to do bad things to kids. And like being a kid, I needed to be very careful and be particularly careful to make sure that I'm not being stalked or hunted or no one's trying to go after me. And that was good information. I don't think I ever had a situation where that info was like useful or needed to be used, which is good, but God forbid I did need to know that information and I didn't know it, and I was able to be taken advantage of. I mean, God forbid. Fucking hell. So I think it's really important that some form of education is offered, but something that you guys need to know is that conservatives, both in America and in the UK and all around the world, they don't make that distinction. They don't see any shades of gray or compromise. They just see unilateral control and power. And in the topic of educating kids on anything to do with sex, they have deemed that evil in their culture war struggle. So it doesn't matter how much data there is showing that teaching kids sex ed, even at the age of 6, helps prevent them from being molested. They don't care. They just want to get an epic own on the left. And so, UK schools plan to ban sex education for children under 9, which, reminder, are the children most vulnerable to sexual predators that go after children.
The British government is changing its regulations on sex education in schools. It is making subjects like gender identity illegal to be taught to children under the age of 9 years.
Oh, and if you're curious about where this is coming from, it heavily includes the banning of discussion of gender identity. It's very clear where politically this is targeted to, or targeted at, and where the shots are being fired from.
The government said that this new guidance will be enforced from later this year. It will also ensure that parents can in fact demand access to all the media and materials that are used to teach their children. The British government is...
I don't necessarily disagree with that. Now, this is a big thing that a lot of conservative bills will do, where they try to find a group of people that are politically popular to advocate for, veterans, parents, etc., etc., and they'll kind of pack a bill with a bunch of overreaching, like, dystopian clauses, and then they'll add in something or one or two things that are really popular, good headline fodder, right? Something like, this bill's going to allow parents to demand access to the resources being used to educate their kids, which is good. That does seem pretty good, though it does sound like a rife for cheating, to be honest, you know, like, think about it for a moment. But regardless, like, that does sound like a good idea in principle, but it's like, to get that, you have to agree to banning all sex education about gender identity.
It's further said that the new guidelines in primary schools will stop the teaching of lessons under relationships, sex and health education. The government is in consultation to ensure that the content that is taught to the children is factual, appropriate, and that children have the capacity to fully understand what they're being taught. Now, according to the Department of Education, that would be when youngsters reach secondary school stage, that is above the age of 11. While many teachers feel that children must be taught on how to keep their bodies safe, lawmakers are backing the new rules to restrict sex education.
I love that. They even lampshade the fact that, like, all the teachers and educational, like, professionals are like, no, this education is done to keep children's bodies safe. That's a good way of describing it, too. We do this to keep children's bodies safe. We educate them so they know how to keep themselves safe. Also, you spot what I see, right? I fucking hate these things. This teacher seems nice, though. She doesn't seem to have moved anybody into yellow or red. For all we know, it could be the beginning of the day, but fucking hell. Anybody else remember these? When I was a kid, if I got anything other than, like, when I was a kid, we had green and then yellow and then orange and then red. If I ever got orange or red, I was getting an ass whooping when we got home from school. And, like, they would move you down a tier just for right now, my leg bounce might get me moved down a tier. You know, God, having ADHD and a teacher who just gets annoyed and moves you down a tier for anything, and, like, parents that don't understand that these tiers don't represent how bad of a student you were today or how badly behaved you were. It's rough. I stayed in the red, not gonna lie. I had a good fair amount of days in the red because I couldn't stay on task with schoolwork, and I'd talk to friends and stuff. But yeah. Oh my God, is it the slip cards? This lady's using, like, a Velcro pad, but for me it was slip cards most years. One year I remember it was it was like one of those wooden paper tabs, or one of those, like, laundry line clips, right? Like, you'd write your name on the laundry clip, and then you would unclip it and then move it down or whatever. I heard some teachers would even let you move your clip back up if you like went back to being good for the rest of the day or something, or you're fine for the rest of the day. But never had a teacher that nice. I had the worst fucking teachers when I was younger. It was rough, man. This gave me flashbacks, bro.
From being taught in schools, claiming that it is the role of parents and communities to do so.
As soon as you mention sex and relationship education, people's minds dive straight away to the very nitty-gritty of teaching children about sex when they're younger in the school, under the age of 9. We're not teaching them that.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate that this gets lumped in under the umbrella of sex education, and people are so prudish and like hypersensitive that like they'll turn their brain off the second they hear those two words together and then children in the same sentence. When in reality, what we're talking about is like third grade health class, okay? Like we're talking about, okay, everybody, like I'm going to be honest, like the most graphic thing that might be discussed in one of these classes is like how to properly wash yourself, like how to have proper hygiene might be the most graphic thing discussed. And that's not like inappropriate or sexual. That's having good hygiene. I don't care how old you are. You're not too young to know how to keep yourself clean, okay? No matter what part of your body it is. Like, you need to know how to do that. Like, either a parent or something needs to teach you. Like, that's important, you know? But, like, conservatives would say that's grooming, you know? Like, even if a parent... Like, you know, for a long time, the right actually made it a culture war issue as to whether or not it's gay for men to wash or wipe their ass. Because the implication is you don't clean up unless you expect people to come visit. That was the saying. What the fuck? Yeah. Decades of conservative men saying washing your ass is gay because if you don't clean up unless you expect someone to come visit. That was the saying.
Teaching them about how to keep their bodies safe. I think once parents understand exactly what that is, they have no issues with it at all and are actually quite thankful.
We've got to recognise that kind of sexual ethics and philosophical worldview are absolutely the role of parents and communities to teach. And there isn't a settled view about sex in this country. We have people of all different religions, all different backgrounds. And so it shouldn't be for schools to teach what's right and wrong. They should be teaching the facts.
The British government has said that it is law.
Well, yeah, just teach an education. There's no, like, schools don't teach you what's right and wrong. They just teach you facts. That is what school, like, obviously when you're younger, the curriculum can be a little more driven by the teacher, but generally, if you're not able to pass if an entire class for literal grades on grades isn't passing standardized testing, the teacher's going to be in some trouble. So the teacher's at least doing a good enough job teaching what they're teaching that the majority of their students are learning enough to pass standardized testing. That's the whole point of standardized testing. It's a very low standard, a very, like, you know, kind of subpar standard, but there is a standard, right? So, like, where's this idea that, like, teachers are pushing their morals on students? The only teachers I ever had that pushed morals on me as a kid were the conservative ones. Like, conservatives can't not be political. Like, if you have ever met someone who's, like, progressive, even the most, like, online lefties, they can have a non-political conversation. Like, they can talk about a topic. Like, they can watch a piece of media and not have see someone who's, like, a trans person, and they don't immediately think, oh, a trans person, this is left-wing or political. They'll just think, oh, a character, and, like, it won't even... Like, for me, I'm progressive, and I was watching From... And at one point, a character just straight up says, a cross-dresser who was gorgeous, was the quote, lived with them in Colony House. And it took me like 10 seconds to register what I just heard, that like the show just did trans inclusion. And like I just didn't even pick up on it because it was so casual the way it did it. When you're progressive, you can just kind of like enjoy media, even when it's political, in a very like apolitical way. You can just kind of appreciate it. But every conservative I've ever met, if they so much as see like a minority group they don't like represented in a piece of media, in a trailer for half a second, like I've seen conservatives watch a trailer for a movie they're excited for, and then there's a single shot where like a woman has pink hair, Like it's some like side character who has pink hair, like smiling at the camera for a single shot in the trailer, and it immediately gets them mad and makes them not want to watch the movie, because that immediately fills them with so many preconceived notions and like misconceptions that they just lose their mind, right? Like they can't not be reminded of the culture war with every bit of media they consume, every conversation they have. It's really sad.
Launching a consultation with parents and schools before the guidance comes statutory.
Around you, there's people of different genders, different sexualities, different family setups. This is the reality of the world now. And if you don't talk about it in school, then people get the wrong idea.
The ability of children to be able to look things up on their own has become more prevalent anyway. So it makes more sense for them to get basic.
Yeah, I'd rather kids are learning basic sex education from schools than from Pornhub, you know? Funny, I am dating again and had a TERF message me, like, why does everything have to be so political with you? Like, ma'am, you came on my profile and messaged me about politics because I have no TERFs in my bio. Yeah, no, it's literally, like, they have to try and get a reaction out of you. Because you have to remember, a lot of conservatism is about goading a reaction. Even on a policy level, they want to make you riot in the streets and burn dumpsters. So their, like, talk show hosts can rake in millions in viewership from, like, suburban and rural conservative white viewers that believe the cities are on fire. Once you've, like, all it takes is a single trash can or a single car getting, like, turned over, and Fox News has enough footage to create a narrative for millions, tens of millions of American suburban and rural white conservative Fox News viewers. And of course, in this case, it's the UK, but, you know, everything outside of, like, what, London is pretty much, like, backwoods rural in the UK. Like, what is there? London, Bristol. That's, like, it, right? Like, it's everything's, like, very rural. They literally call, like, small towns villages in the UK.
Basic information at school from someone they can trust.
Manchester,
For all
I
the
guess
latest
so.
news, download the WION app and subscribe.
I'm going to be honest, I've never been to the UK, and when I imagine it in my mind, I actually feel like I could see all of it from the top of a tall enough building, you know? Like if I stood on top of, like, Big Ben, I feel like I could see, like, Hadrian's Wall. Am I right? I think I'm right. I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so you know, you could see pretty far. It'd probably be very gray looking. I love the UK. I just imagine the entirety of the UK is just a field with a single hill in the middle of an island. In the middle of the island. I imagine, like, the middle part is really hilly and green. The northern part is, like, snowy and gross and, like, shrubby. And then the southern part is, like, really smoggy and rainy and overcast and, like, just city, you know, London, Bristol, fucking, like, I think Manchester's in the south, too. Like, a lot of the towns and cities are in the south. I live in Glasgow. Man, I've got a lot of Britbongers in my chat today. What's going on? What's going on? What is up with all the British people watching me? It's crazy. Why you guys got to vote against these weirdos in your government? How is your country so conservative? Like, how does your country hate Trump so much, but is also so conservative in who they vote for? Like, your median voters in the UK are actually brain dead. I'm sorry. Like, UK median voters might be the dumbest political, like, people that are in politics that exist. Like, actually just bizarre. I don't know what they believe. I don't know if they have beliefs. Britain has a worse voting system than the US. Is that why? Is it just too complicated for them to understand it? Because most British people think they're better than the rest of the world. Like, every time I see, like, some awful looking British breakfast and them try to, like, claim that it looks delicious to them, it's like, yeah, man, enjoy it. Yeah, I'm gonna go make some over easy eggs, toast, bacon, and hash browns myself, but you enjoy your blood pudding and death sausage or whatever the fuck that is. Like, I don't know. I thought Scotland was a little more trans-inclusive than England. I think Northern Ireland is pretty chill when it comes to trans people. I know a good amount of trans people that live there. People here dismiss racism by saying in America. Oh, yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, British people in talking about American, like, racial politics become MLK, but they become Hitler when they talk about British politics. That's true. Oh my god, Zan, that is my favorite breakfast. Over easy eggs, toast, and bacon with hash browns or some home fries. I like my hash browns myself, but yes, that is my favorite breakfast. That's what I, like, if I'm making myself, like, my top tier favorite, like, I call it Hobbit breakfast whenever I make that. Like, if you're ever, like, I don't know, hanging out with me and I say, hey, want some Hobbit breakfast? That's what I mean. Over easy eggs, toast, hash browns, bacon. Maybe some pancakes. If we're feeling up for it. Man, now I'm hungry. Well, if you're feeling hungry too after that, then please leave a like on this video. Frankly, wherever you're watching, make sure to leave a like. It basically live cattle prods the YouTube algorithm into pushing my content out to more people, so I really do appreciate it when you guys do me that solid. It really does help a lot. And of course, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications, and follow my social medias linked down below. And if you want to help me, like, financially and support me so that I can afford cool stuff for content creation to keep the lights on, and of course, remember, Quail content, currently raising money to do the Quail content. I am shopping for cameras. I need a good DSLR camera in the $600 to $800 price range is what I'm looking at. So yeah, consider donating to help support the goal, and I would really appreciate that. You can donate, subscribe, or gift a sub on my website, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, StreamElements, Patreon, or supporting me through, or buying my merch, sorry, through the Streamlabs link down below. And don't forget, for totally free, you can join my fan Discord, link down below, where I host fan events, call-in streams, and game events, sorry, and I also do watch parties in there, and I announce all my streams and my uploads in there as well, so make sure you have notifications on. I hope you've already joined. I hope to see you there, and I hope to see you again. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.